We're pawnbrokers that happen to be on TV. The uniqueness of our situation is the American Jewelry and Loan business. We're a pawn shop. We deal with 1,000 people that come in to borrow money every day, and that's what drew attention to our store.
From TV king to becoming broke, Les Gold made millions on hardcore pawn until it all vanished. Behind the shouting matches and slick deals was a man heading toward financial ruin. What really happened to Detroit's most famous pawnbroker, and how did his empire crumble when the cameras stopped rolling? Join us as we look behind the dramatic footage to uncover the truth about the fall of one of television's most memorable reality stars and his shocking loss of fortune. The risky real estate ventures.
Pawn shops themselves, an interesting indicator as to the health of the local and sometimes national economy. My next guest noting recently that his pawn shop saw an influx of heavy-duty construction equipment just ahead of the massive economic downturn and housing bubble burst back in 2007. Joining me right now is the star of hardcore pawn, Les Gold. Les, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Les Gold started a small pawn shop in Detroit and grew it into a huge 50,000 square foot store that became well known in the city. After doing well with his business, American Jewelry and Loan, he used his money and experience to start buying buildings and land. Thanks to the money from his shop and his fame from TV, Les began buying properties around Detroit, hoping the city would bounce back and grow again. In 2017, Les spent a lot of money buying old, empty buildings in poor parts of Detroit. He had big plans to fix them up and turn them into places with shops on the bottom and cheap apartments on top. He hoped this would help the neighborhoods and also earn him steady money from rent. Some experts said it was risky, but Les trusted his experience and believed he could make it work. Les didn't realize how expensive it would be to fix up old buildings in Detroit. When inspectors checked the buildings, they found serious problems like broken structures, dangerous asbestos, and old wiring that needed to be completely replaced. At first, Les thought the repairs would cost $5 million, but the price shot up to over $15 million. This used up most of his money very quickly. When he couldn't pay the workers on time, they stopped working and the buildings were left unfinished, getting damaged by weather and vandalism. But as his real estate investments were crumbling, another crisis was brewing inside his famous pawn empire.
Tell us about how that came about.
Well, this friend of my wife's, who plays cards with her, had this collection that she needed appraised. And it just so happened that Good Morning America approached me looking for items that were valuable that the person that owned them didn't know the price.
The failed Las Vegas expansion. After hardcore pawn became super popular in 2014, Les Gold decided to take a big chance and open a new pawn shop in Las Vegas. His idea was exciting, a flashy store on the Las Vegas Strip where tourists could pawn items, see cool stuff from the TV show, and even meet the Gold family. Les spent more than $4 million to get a great spot and build a fancy 15,000 square foot shop that he hoped would be even more impressive than the famous Pawn Stars store nearby. The Las Vegas shop opened in 2016 with a lot of excitement, including a big party with celebrities and tons of ads all over local TV and newspapers. Les thought the store would quickly become a popular spot for tourists and make good money from both pawning items and selling merchandise. He hired 35 workers and filled the shop with fancy items chosen to attract visitors who had plenty of money to spend. Things didn't go as well as Les Gold had hoped. Even though the shop was in a good spot, it was just far enough from the main Las Vegas Strip that not many people walked by. Running the store in Las Vegas cost a lot more than in Detroit. Just the rent was almost $75,000 every month. On top of that, other pawn shops in Las Vegas were already popular and well-known, making it hard for Les's new store to compete. After losing almost $200,000 every month for a year and a half, Les had to shut down the Las Vegas shop in 2018. He lost millions on building the store and leftover items he couldn't sell. The failed expansion hurt both his money situation and his image as a smart businessman. Yet while Les was dealing with this very public failure, a more personal challenge was developing that would further complicate his financial situation: the costly family feud. The Gold family was a big part of the hardcore pawn show, with Les often caught between his kids, Ashley and Seth, who were always trying to show they were the best at running the business. The show made their fights look more dramatic. But the truth was, the family really did have problems that didn't go away when filming ended. By 2018, things had gotten so bad between them that it started hurting both their family and the business. Seth Gold had worked with his dad since he was a teenager, but over time, he got upset because he felt Les was stuck in old ways and didn't want to update the business. Ashley also felt left out when it came to big decisions, even though her skills in marketing and customer service had helped the company. Both Seth and Ashley wanted more control and a bigger share of the business to match the work they were doing, but Les kept saying no, or didn't take their requests seriously. Things fell apart in late 2018 when Seth suddenly quit American Jewelry and Loan to open his own pawn shop just a few miles away. He took some important workers and loyal customers with him, which caused big problems for Les. 6 months later, Ashley also left and started her own jewelry business that focused on custom pieces instead of pawning. Her move split the family's customer base even more. The family breakup led to expensive legal fights over business rules, trademarks, and who owned what. These battles cost Les over $2 million in lawyer fees. Even worse, the Gold family name took a hit, as longtime customers started picking sides. Les ended up losing a lot of money, and the kids he had hoped would take over the business one day. As the family empire fractured from within, external forces were preparing to deliver another significant blow: the pandemic's devastating impact. When COVID-19 hit the U.S. in early 2020, most businesses weren't ready for the huge problems it caused. For Les Gold and his pawn shop, American Jewelry and Loan, the timing was especially bad because they were already low on money from earlier losses. Michigan's stay-at-home rules made him close all 3 of his Detroit area stores for almost 3 months. That meant no face-to-face business, which was the main way the shop made money. Unlike many stores that could switch to selling online, pawn shops depend a lot on in-person visits to check items, make deals, and sell things. Les tried to set up a way for people to get items appraised online, but most customers didn't trust the prices they were given through a screen. Also, many of the usual customers who came in during tough times had some extra money from government stimulus checks, so fewer people needed to pawn things, even though it was a big financial crisis. When the stores opened again in the summer of 2020, things were very different for Les. It cost a lot more to run the business because of new safety rules, but only about 40% of the usual customers came back. At the same time, gold prices went way up, and many people came in to get back the gold items they had pawned before. This meant Les had to pay out a lot of cash, even though the business wasn't making much money. By the end of 2020, Les had to shut down 2 of his 3 stores for good and let go of more than 60% of his workers. His main store stayed open, but only for fewer hours and with a small team. The pandemic made his money problems worse, and his once successful business was now close to going broke. But while struggling with these business challenges, Les would soon face a very different type of crisis that threatened not just his wealth, but also his health. The health crisis and medical debt. Even though Les Gold seemed strong and confident on TV, he had been quietly dealing with health problems for a long time. He had diabetes for most of his life and kept it under control with medicine and healthy habits. But the stress from his business troubles and family issues started to hurt his health. In December 2020, while his business was struggling because of the pandemic, Les had a serious heart attack and needed emergency surgery to fix 4 blocked arteries. The timing was really bad for Les's money situation. Years before, when things were going well, he chose a health insurance plan with lower monthly payments, but higher costs when someone got sick. Because of that choice, he ended up having to pay more than $300,000 out of his own pocket for medical bills. His recovery had problems too, so he needed special care and stayed in the hospital longer, which added even more debt, just when his income had dropped a lot. Les had to stay away from his business for almost 5 months while he recovered. During that time, less experienced workers had to make important decisions. Without Les's strong personality and deep knowledge of how to price items, the store didn't do as well. Many loyal customers who were used to working only with Les stopped coming when they found out he wasn't there. When Les came back to work in the middle of 2021, his health was better, but still weak, so he had to work fewer hours. That made it hard for him to fix and grow his business. Even worse, he had a huge amount of medical debt, and his money situation was already shaky. He had to think about selling some of his personal belongings just to pay for his healthcare bills. Yet even as Les grappled with these health challenges, his reputation was about to face an unexpected attack that would further damage his business prospects. The social media scandal. Les Gold was always in the spotlight and knew that his public image helped his business succeed. Since the start of Hardcore Pawn, he built a reputation as someone who was tough but fair, smart on the streets but honest, and a strong negotiator with a kind heart. This image helped him gain loyal fans who kept supporting his shop even after the show ended in 2015. Les initially attempted to ignore the growing controversy, believing his reputation would withstand unfounded attacks. When the allegations continued spreading and local news outlets began investigating the claims, Les finally issued a vehement denial through his attorneys. However, his delayed response appeared defensive to many observers, and his legal team's aggressive cease and desist letters to several social media users further inflamed public opinion against him. Even though no official charges or lawsuits came from the accusations, Les's reputation took a major hit. In the months after the scandal, the number of customers coming to the store dropped by almost half. Many loyal clients started questioning whether they'd been treated fairly in the past. The controversy shattered the trust Les had spent years building, making his already struggling business even weaker. But while fighting to salvage his public image, Les would soon face a more concrete threat from an unexpected direction: the IRS investigation. Throughout his career, Les Gold had a tricky relationship with the people in charge of taxes. Even though he looked like a successful businessman to the public, he worked in a business that used a lot of cash and had a hard time keeping track of inventory, which made doing taxes complicated. For many years, Les handled these problems with help from a small accounting company that had been taking care of his money even before he became famous on TV. In September 2021, Les got a letter that most business owners fear. The tax office was going to do a full check of his business and personal taxes from the past 6 years. At first, they looked into big losses he said he had from real estate, problems with how he valued his inventory, and whether he had wrongly counted personal spending as business costs. What started as a normal check quickly got more serious when the investigators found a pattern of mixed-up reports. They also discovered that Les's longtime accountant had been using risky tax tricks to help the business during tough financial times. Les said he had just signed the tax papers that his accountants gave him, but the tax office decided he was still responsible for not paying enough taxes over several years. By early 2022, Les owed about $2.8 million in taxes, including extra charges and interest. That was way more than he could afford to pay. With his financial options narrowing, Les faced yet another crisis that would strike at the heart of his identity as a pawnbroker: the massive inventory theft. The most important part of a pawn shop is its inventory, the stuff people gave as loans but didn't come back to get, so now it's for sale. Over many years, Les Gold built up a really valuable collection at his main store in Detroit. It included rare jewelry, fancy watches, musical instruments, and cool collectibles that he picked out using his sharp eye for valuable items. This inventory was his biggest remaining asset and the key to any chance of saving his business. In January 2022, something terrible happened at American Jewelry and Loan. Smart and well-prepared thieves broke into the store during a holiday weekend. They got past the old security system and went straight for the vault and display cases, picking out the most expensive and easy-to-carry items. They even turned off the cameras and alarms, which made it seem like they knew exactly how the store's security worked. When the workers came back on Tuesday, they found out that more than $3.2 million worth of items had been stolen. The investigation showed that the store had serious security problems because Les had cut costs and didn't keep up with repairs or new technology. Insurance agents also found out that Les had lowered his insurance coverage the year before to save money. So his policy only covered about 40% of what was stolen. After a long wait during the investigation, the insurance company gave him just $1.3 million, far less than the full value of the stolen items. The theft didn't just hurt Les's finances right away. It also made it hard to keep the store running smoothly. There weren't enough items for customers to choose from, so Les had to spend most of the insurance money buying new inventory at wholesale prices. That left him with even less cash to pay for other important bills. Which of these setbacks do you think was the most devastating to Les Gold's empire? Was it the risky business expansions, the family conflicts, or simply bad timing with the pandemic and health issues? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.